Hello tarot friends, it's Hermit Writer, and today's video is just going to be kind of a rambling catch up and shuffling and maybe dealing out some cards video. I will be working with my TdM, which is printed by Piatnik out of Austria. This is a 2018 reprint of their 2006 edition of a deck that they first printed in 1984. This deck is a reprint of an 18th century deck that was designed by someone named Ignaz Krebs in Freiburg am Breslau in Germany, what is today Germany. There was not a little white book that came with this deck. There is a QR code on the bottom of the box, and sometimes that's a danger signal that you've got a counterfeit tarot deck, but this QR code does actually lead to Piatnik's official website, and they have digitized the little white book that goes with this deck, and it's available in several different languages. The English translation has a few mistakes in it, which are a little bit amusing. And there are some historical inaccuracies on it, but for something that was written in 1984, I suppose that is to be expected. This is a very charming little deck. You can see it's a bit rough in the woodblock printing, but this is really, it's just a reproduction of an extant historical deck. So all the age and wear and tear comes through on it. But I really like the charm of these older historical decks, especially the ones that retain, little oopses like the ink that comes out of the photo, out of the image. Anyway, I didn't get to post a video in July. I'm filming this in August of 2020. July was a pretty hectic month. The last week of July was, to put quite simply, just downright awful from a personal standpoint. Most of July I spent, as you can probably tell by my name, I am a writer as well as somewhat interested in tarot, so I spent the month of July doing Camp Nano, which is run by the National Novel Writing Month organization. Every April and July they do what's called Camp Nano, which is a less intense version of National Novel Writing Month, which occurs in November. So I spent most of the last month working on a new book, which was fun. And here's the magician that's on the cover of the box. But the last week of the month was full of several challenges for my wife and I. Some health issues and with her and with one of her dogs and with several of our friends and some other tragic circumstances that I really don't want to go into right now. So it's been kind of a bear. Also, I apologize for any background noise. It is daytime while I'm filming, so there's a lot of street noise behind me. Hopefully it's not too distracting. So I just thought that instead of trying to do anything really formal, I'd just do a bit of a flip through of this deck. It's one of the two most recent ones that I've added to my collection. You can see the sort of misprint down here. Not really misprint, but where the image has bled into the title. I will be doing a walkthrough and discussion of the other deck that I received later, but I want to make sure I can give that one its due, because that one is a pretty special deck. I've been working with this deck probably for about 2 weeks. Not exclusively, but I spent a week of working only with this deck, doing my daily reads and such with it. It's really very pleasant to work with. I think this is going to be one of my go-to decks. Right up there with the Madinier reprint that I've got. I hope things have been going well for all of you this summer. I know 2020 has been pretty much a dumpster fire of a year for most of the world. Here in the US, it seems to just be exponentially worse each day. So we have to take joy in little things, like getting a new tarot deck that is pretty awesome. Well, new to me anyway. I purchased this off of Amazon, which I don't typically try to do, but that was literally the only place that I could find this deck for under $40 or $50. And I'm pretty comfortable that this is, not a counterfeit deck or anything like that. My sense is that there's another reprint that's going to be releasing this month, since there are several sellers on Amazon that have this as a forthcoming deck. And I've seen it for sale on eBay and Etsy and some other places too. They're usually much more expensive. This is one of the more interesting cards in the deck. The number 12 is printed backwards, and actually when I unpackaged the cards, this deck was in the box like this, with the number printed properly, but then the title upside down and backwards. There are some versions of Le Pendo, or the Hanged Man, that show the person almost like they're dancing, but tethered to the ground. This doesn't seem to be like that's the design that they were actually going for, just based on the way the hair is falling and how taut the rope is. So some people attribute a lot of symbolic significance to the number being backwards, but it was probably just the wood block was carved incorrectly. It's probably upside down too. You can see that the X is larger at the bottom. Just one of those neat little quirks of the deck. You'll also notice the card before, the Two of Coins, usually has the printmaker's signature and the date. This does not have it. That information is on the Two of Cups, which I'm not sure if I've gotten to yet in the deck, but if I do, I'll show it more close up. This deck is considered a blend of Type 1 and Type 2 Marseille tarots. Things like the full-faced moon and how Cupid is presented in the Lovers help distinguish between those two. And there are elements of both in this particular deck. The card stock is wonderful. This shuffles wonderfully and deals wonderfully. You can probably see that the corners are slightly, they're not rounded off, but it looks like they're clipped, so they don't have very sharp corners, but it still retains the square look of historical tarot decks. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. The batons are very simple, the swords are very simple. The aces show a little bit more decorative flourish. I like the smile he seems to have on his face in the valet. I like this Sun card too. I don't really care for the Sun card in most decks. I think I've mentioned that before. But I'm finding that in most Marseille decks, it's not as glaring as it is in the Rider-Waite Coleman-Smith deck. Here's the Two of Cups. And this has Tarofin, and Ignaz Krebs, Freiburg, and Brisgau. I might have said Breslau at first, so I was slightly wrong on that. My apologies. And we finish up with the Justice card. So there you have the Piatnik TdM reproduction of, I think it was a 1736 date originally. I hope you are all staying safe and well, and remember to be kind to one another, and I will talk to you soon.